We are going to talk today about something very, very important to both of us here on our very first show because it's happening now and it matters. And that is the events surrounding Black Panther. Jerry, what happened? What happened to Chad?
It's tragic, a tragedy that nobody was prepared for. 43-year-old dying of colon cancer, a surprise to us all.
Yeah, I legitimately thought when you texted me that it was a troll. I thought that it was like a parody article that somebody had taken too far.
Yeah,
There was no word about it, no evidence, no warning, nothing.
yeah. I think that what really caught people off guard is that I think that a lot of people would have assumed once they've heard that news that there would have been a plan in place, and I think that that's what most people kept their fingers crossed for.
Absolutely.
And I think to find out that there really was no idea by the writers, the directors, or the company itself, I think it leaves a lot of people not knowing what the future of Black Panther is going to be.
Right, and we're going to talk about the future of Black Panther here in just a couple minutes, but I want to take just a minute to talk about why we decided to do this for our very first show. And for me, personally, I grew up reading Captain America and Iron Man and Spider-Man, and these people have all been given the big screen treatment. These heroes were, ingrained in the fabric of American society and the world's consciousness as well. But Black Panther was one of those characters I only kind of knew a little bit about as a kid. And the film itself, I went in with, high expectations because the Marvel folks make good movies. But I didn't expect it to be so epic, so well done, and it turned out to be my very favorite MCU film. It not only established, cemented Black Panther in the MCU as, to me, the de facto leader beyond Tony Stark and Captain America. And the cast was great. It was a huge moment to me where they elevated a hero that wasn't really as well known, and they proved that they could make it a huge deal. So I know we went and saw it together. So why is Black Panther something that sticks with you so much?
I think personally, I've always just been a Marvel fan, and my main course and catalog always was around X-Men, and so I really didn't know much about any of the rest of the Marvel franchise other than crossovers. And so I knew a little bit about Black Panther, but I didn't know enough about him in general. But being an African American myself, I had went into this movie, and in all honesty, I assumed because of the way that African Americans are treated within the movie industry that it'd be some kind of black exploitation kind of movie, that it would be leveled up to greatness. But I didn't expect it to be where you walk into it and you're completely immersed in this idea of black greatness.
Yeah, you were walking in expecting like Dolomite with superpowers.
Yeah. And then I left leaving thinking I need to go buy a daishiki.
Same.
Yeah.
Look a little weirder on me, maybe.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is that you go into movies all the time, and when it's a black cast, you're expecting some kind of comedy, or some kind of gangster movie, or you don't leave there thinking that you're giving young black children role models.
Right.
And so you not only did you give role models within this movie of Black Panther or T'Challa, you gave very strong black female leads also. And there wasn't really a aspect of that movie or the stars themselves that you couldn't see something positive that of greatness, down to Killmonger when you're watching it. There's parts of him that are so ruthless, but then it's also, especially within the African American community, it speaks to a larger look of the slave trade within America and how it affects how we really are not that far apart from our African brothers and sisters in Africa, and yet the divide is so far apart, the kind of abuse that being torn away from your home is. And I think that that's what Black Panther was. It really gave a full view of what could have happened had a group of people not been pulled away and sold into slavery.
Sure. And I think it's Killmonger. You mentioned Killmonger. We were just talking about you know, maybe him coming back in some capacity, and you're like, no, but he was probably my favorite character in this movie. And I think it's because of that kind of arc of redemption and the fact that he wasn't, you know, my favorite kinds of villains are the ones who they're not just, you know, bad for the sake of being bad. They have a real relatable kind of background, and you're like, yeah, no, I get it, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that seeing, you know, there's been a lot of criticism that, you know, yes, Black Panther was so positive for the black community, but it takes place in Africa. It doesn't take place in America, where the black experience is very different. But I liked how the film brought Killmonger's experience into that, and also at the end, you know, you saw T'Challa and Shuri kind of addressing that, and
Yeah.
it kind of gave you hope for, like, okay, let's see where they take this, because that would you know, take the knees right out from under that criticism.
Yeah, I think that, you know, it really speaks to the idea that had a culture not been robbed from a country, how much further it could have went. And, you know, this idea that Killmonger being in the United States, you still have a connection to, you know, Africa, but you carry lineage of abuses from this country.
Right.
And so his idea of being, you know, he's angry at the country he's from for his treatment of, you know, as being an African American within our own country, but then he's also angry at Wakanda or Africa because of the fact that you had all this. There wasn't a reason for us to have 400 years of oppression and
Right.
and slavery and, you know, beatings and our children being ripped away from us. You had the ability to keep us all safe, and you
Right.
chose instead to be inclusive and keep it to yourself. And I think that that really speaks more to where we are right now, where, you know, we have the ability right now, especially, you know, within our own country. And I think that's why the comic books are so important, that they're all built upon this idea that if we all work together, we could be a lot better off. But how quickly we allow borders to just be able to say, we only worry about what's inside here.
Right. Yeah, going back just a second, you know, when you were talking about Killmonger's stance of, like, where were you? And I think that idea of, like, where were you?
Yeah.
Is one of the things that made it so made him so relatable, and made his struggle so, you know, so sympathetic for
Yeah.
a lot of the film. So, all right, we've established Black Panther the movie was rad.
Yeah.
Black Panther the character was great.
I think it was one of the most, because it was so obscure, it was one of the most well-developed characters that they had going on in the MCU.
Right, they didn't have a lot of the baggage that
No.
other characters had.
No.
Right, which I thought was kind of cool. Which, and this is a topic for another show, but where they kind of dropped the ball with Iron Fist.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about poor Danny Rand and his treatment later. So it is what it is. You mentioned earlier that Marvel didn't know that Chadwick Boseman was ill. You mentioned that there was no plan in place. The writers, the producers, nobody knew that this man was sick until it was too late to do anything about it. You know, we, in our private conversations, we have talked about how, you know, man, you know, maybe they knew he was sick and they filmed, you know, a really good send-off kind of scene,
Yeah.
but nope. Allegedly, they knew nothing, and we have nothing. So that kind of brings us to the last two questions here. Number one, how does Marvel take such a tragic loss, such an unexpected loss? How do they give him a fitting end that is, you know, all at once a tribute and a realistic kind of end to that particular character? Do they, you know, do they recast? Do they? I mean, I don't see them recasting. I don't see that as even being an option. But what do they do? What, you know, what would, how would you write it up if you were going to bring his character to a fitting end on film?
I think that what they have to do is they need to pay tribute while also giving the character a full story arc. And I think the only way that you can do that is by sending him out protecting Wakanda. That's his ultimate, job is to make sure that that society continues on, because they all know that their station in life as being the Black Panther is just limited. So they only can do so much. So I would like to see something happen where I'm not sure where they're going to go with the big bad. The idea of the big villain for Black Panther 2 is that it's going to be a Namor situation, or Namor. And I would love the idea that maybe they can branch out where they utilize another big bad that they're trying to bring into the MCU, which would be Doctor Doom, into challenging Wakanda by setting up the Namor in Atlantis. So I think that something needs to happen where you ultimately see Black Panther for a good 20-25 minutes of the movie at least, where they have to CGI him in the same way that they did for Carrie Fisher after she died. They have enough dialogue through, Civil War and Infinity Wars and Endgame. And I mean, he had spoken enough Black Panther, obviously, and then also with the What If, that they could splice together enough dialogue to give him a very good, 10 or 15 minutes of dialogue, utilizing a double with the CGIing him in, and then have him, the rest of his scenes take place with him inside the Black Panther costume. Have him somehow sacrifice, have him somehow sacrifice himself to the Atlantis attack to save Wakanda. I think that's the only way that it can go out. It needs to be something big. It needs to be some reason why then Wakandans decide to attack Atlantis, and then ultimately finding out that they've both been set up.
Maybe.
And I think that
a Latverian scheme.
Yeah. And I believe that what needs to happen is that they need to go ahead and have Shuri take over the mantle of Black Panther for at least one movie. I definitely think that it needs to be something that's a little bit more thought out. Like maybe she's stepping in to keep her people safe until they know what they do next. But I believe that the ultimate ending that I would love to see, everything's done, and then the last thing you see is that Nakia is at the very end and she's pregnant, and so you see that T'Challa's legacy is continuing on.
Right.
And I think that that's the way it ends. That you give him a full send off that just as good as the first half and the first movie, and really ties everything together.
Cool. Yeah. I love the idea of the family line continuing, because that's such an overarching theme in Civil War and in the Black Panther film itself. The mantle being passed down from his father to him, and his family being so heavily involved. And that brings in something that the MCU has been toying with a lot lately, and that is, alternate realities. The idea of time travel and parallel universes and so on. That'd be an ideal way to kind of give them some time to say, all right, well, maybe in Black Panther 2, they end his reign as Black Panther, like you described. Shuri takes over the mantle temporarily. Maybe she works in concert with other folks around Wakanda, the other tribes, and just to protect Wakanda. And then maybe in a third film, we get this idea of bringing the son or daughter in to fill the role. I personally, I'm a huge fan of Killmonger, and I'm a huge fan of M'Baku. And I would love to see both of them kind of like take on I know Killmonger's dead, but we've talked about how I want him to come back from the dead, and it is what it is. But M'Baku especially, I think, would be a really cool kind of lead, along with Shuri and Okoye and all these folks that are going to be taking care of Wakanda in T'Challa's absence. I don't know what they're going to do, but I have pretty good faith in Marvel films, and I think that, they're going to do a good job. They know that this is a major loss, and they know that they're going to have to do something to really kind of patch that wound.
Yeah.
So, all right. Do you have anything else to add today?
Wakanda forever.
Yes, coming to you live from Wakanda today, I am. All right. I want to say thank you to everybody for watching. I want to say thank you to people who helped make this show happen. In particular, my best friend on the other half of the screen here for 20 plus years. We've been talking nerd stuff for 2 decades, and it's finally time for us to share our wisdom with the world. So that's all for us today. This is Them Nerds, and if you can, please, and this is so cliche, subscribe, share, like. You can visit us on social media at We Them Nerds on Twitter and at We Them Nerds on Instagram. And we will see you on Thursday, where we are going to do a little throwback Thursday and talk about one of our very favorite nerd movies, and that is Spaceballs. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Take care. Be good to each other. Bye.
Bye.